for future generations. So there's great places out there that are doing that. So if you have film prints and if you're not preserving them right, please donate them to some place that can preserve it right.
If you got cans sitting in your house and you don't know what to do with them, give them or sell them to someone who does, because that stuff is more precious than even VHS.
Yeah.
That is something that is going away, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. That's the cold hard reality. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Film is going away, but we can make it last as long as we can, and we can enjoy it for as long as we can. And so, and film, like tapes, are more resilient than people give credit. So if we take care of what we've got, we'll have them for a long, long time. We'll have them for generations. So do your part. Go to retro theaters.
Oh my God, yeah. I know. I'm jealous. Like I'm beating my, like, we're hearing this story, and like you've been involved with the theater since like 2014. Mm-hmm. You're just telling me about Alien, and like I wanted to go to that thing. I don't remember why I missed it. I feel terrible, but we gotta do more of this.
Oh yeah,
definitely. But let's step back. Let's talk about you guys did the film. You did a Kickstarter for the camera,
for the music video.
The music video. Okay, so tell me how did this process come together?
So we did a music video for a band called the Soft Spots. The lead singer and the bandmates, they're very much beach-going guys. I love the beach. The lead singer was very much a Wildwood guy. I vacation out Wildwood every summer. And he did the song called Getaway that just really was catchy and awesome. And it was I think when I was conceptualizing the idea, I brought Matt in, we started talking about it, and we came up with, it would be cool to shoot this thing. We know we couldn't shoot the whole thing on Super 8 because that would
drain our budget.
That would drain our budget and would be incredibly stressful, because when it comes to film, you have to rehearse a lot, and you have to be sure that you have the lighting right, and everything has to be perfect, because if it's not, you pretty much only get a few takes.
You're stuck with it.
And you're stuck with it. Unlike digital, where you can shoot for hours and hours, and then maybe go down to a local CVS, pick up an SD card, and maybe shoot for another few hours. Digital is endless. Film, you buy it, it's expensive. If you want to keep shooting, it's going to be even more expensive. So we kind of came up with this idea where we shoot. It would be like this cool vacation with the band, where it would be a combination of, we're shooting digitally on our Canon cameras, then some Super 8 footage mixed in to give that nostalgic vibe, and then they'd be running around with an old VHS camera shooting from their perspective. And yeah, we did $1,000 Kickstarter for it, which so many people were I remember you were one of the donors, and so many people were really awesome with donating to this. And Matt, who was the cinematographer for it, just spent hours and hours and days just researching cameras and film stock. And
I knew nothing going in. I mean, I knew a little bit because I shot 16 millimeter at Temple.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what made a Super 8 camera good and what to look for, because they were the handy cam of their day. They were the home camera. They were for home videos, or home movies in this case. And it was something so alien to me. So I had to just spend hours just figuring out what worked, and I found one, and it was a strange find. So Mother Russia, who after the Cold War had no money, so they had a production camera. It was a Super 8 camera that they used. It was a government manufactured thing.
In communist Russia.
Well, at that point, the Cold War was over. But this camera was in production from I think the late 50s, early 60s to the 90s. It went all the way into the late 90s. And I picked up a 1990s model Super 8 millimeter camera from the Ukraine. I ordered it on eBay. It was shipped from the Ukraine. And what made this camera unique in the world of Super 8 was two things. One, it ran on clockwork, meaning you cranked it up. You had a little thing, spring driven. Most Super 8 cameras used a motor. and batteries.
Right.
This one used just cold hard mechanics. It's the AK-47, literally, of Super 8 cameras.
That's crazy. What you're telling me right now is insane.
And the second thing that it has is a manual focus lens. You can actually see what the lens sees. So you can like dial in focus, and the thing runs on clockwork. So it's like this indestructible, completely manual, handheld monster. And it's this tiny little camera, and it was made all the way into the 90s in Russia and the Ukraine. And I bought it during the Russian occupation of Ukraine.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's right. That's when it was
all that crap was going down. Yeah, Putin was jonesing for some new land, and he was marching on down there, and things were going down. Things were getting crazy, and I ordered a camera in the midst of all that, and I honest to God, I didn't know if it would make it. I had no idea. I'm like, I paid some guy money. Who knows what's going to happen? 2 weeks later,
ship you camera.
We ship you camera.
Weeks.
Hey, 2 weeks. Yes, 2 weeks you get the video. It's good, great, highest quality.
Quality.
No, yeah,
Ukraine
the
camera.
listing was in broken English. I did not know what I was doing, but it came. It showed up. My goodness, it came, and it was so cool. I still have all the packing slips from it because it has all the weird stamps from all the checkpoints it went through. Oh, it's so cool. But now we have this sick.
Oh yeah. This really and
Eastern Bloc camera.
It is one of those beautiful cameras. It's a beast. It's perfectly constructed.
Yeah,
and it's perfect for shooting Super 8 on. Yeah, so we spent like an entire weekend shooting on Super 8, and it was such a really cool, somewhat stressful experience doing it, especially when you're dealing with dealing with actors is one thing. Dealing with musicians that have a vision that's just as strong as a director, on top of trying to shoot on film, where every take matters. But it was a great experience, and it was a really cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, was it hard? Was it hard to film with the camera, like this mechanical camera?
Not really.
No, it was just pretty much the same.
It's just a camera.
It's just a camera. Just make it happen.
Well, what's cool is it had a lot of features, and it had a lot of things that made it easy to use without being kind of annoying, because I was worried using some of the other cameras, everything was automated, so you had no control, and you're kind of pissing in the wind at that point, and you're putting your film in the hands of sensors and regulators that were built however long ago. You're relying on something that's automated from the 80s that might not be in tip-top shape, where with this had a mechanical light meter. All you did was put a battery in. That at the time we made this movie, Radio Shacks still existed.
Oh yeah,
and they sold the battery for this camera's light meter. They had one left in stock. I bought it and put it in this camera, and it worked like a charm, and it was perfect. And the whole shoot went great.
Yeah,
and it still works. Still sitting. I think you have it, right, Brendan?
Yeah,
hanging out.
I have it, yeah.
There is some footage somewhere, real quick, of the Mahoning on Super 8 that I shot.
That's wild.
Yeah, there was like a couple seconds of film left, and I just took it up with me one weekend, just burned the last of it off, shooting the screen.
Oh my God! One of the things I want to throw in here. Okay, did you guys see Avengers? Did you see Endgame?
Yes,
Nope.
I did see Endgame.
I have not. But
You have not.
Don't worry about me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, no, we're not going to do any. Well, maybe we are going to do a
spoilers.
spoiler here. Okay.
Well, at this point, yeah.
All right,
Don't worry about me.
We're going to take
I'm
this to
ready.
a dark place. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
And did you hear about this meme about Ant-Man versus Thanos?
Where they shoot he has to crawl up Thanos' ass.
And then he gets
And then-
big.
And he turns to
Enlarges
full
himself,
size.
yeah.
Okay, there was a guy that I know, and he was telling me him and all his crew they're going to go see this movie. Okay, and I told him about the meme, and I didn't tell him about the meme, and I said, "Yo, they spoiled that movie months ago. Like it's Ant-Man defeats Thanos." He's like, "Why are you going to ruin it for me?" He was getting legitimately mad at me about this, and that's not how it ends, right?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, you totally could have told us. It's like, dude, you just ruined this movie for like everybody. But still, that's a thing that goes on right now. Is like people get into movies, they get into their films, and people aren't up. They're not up to speed because everybody's binging things and they're watching it on Netflix, and there's so many different sources. What do you guys think about that as far as like how that impacts the industry and film watching and things like that?
I think just from a guy that's, I grew up with comic books. I love the Avengers. I love those movies. That's my taste. And I think for something like that, that's a once in a lifetime sort of deal going on with that. If you look back in like when Star Wars was coming out, there was no such thing really as sequels or even trilogies. That was really the first legit connected trilogy.
Really?
That was somewhat groundbreaking at the time. So to tell this serialized storytelling, and I think when the first Iron Man came out, that was when it was like the beginnings of Netflix and streaming, and people were like episodic TV shows, like you see things like Lost, that were telling these episodic serialized storytelling. And that's been around for years. That goes back to like the 40s with Flash Gordon and like those old Superman, Batman serials. That's been a part of our culture for so many years. It's just been updated to have Iron Man and Captain America in them. I think it's a cool thing. I don't think you're ever going to see something like this again. I think Marvel at this point, it's it'll trend downwards because of this. But you see other things like DC Comics. You saw the Universal Monsters were trying to make a universe with Tom Cruise in it.
What?
Yeah. That Mummy movie was supposed to be like this bigger, like the first movie of this bigger universe.
I don't know, man. I feel like this Marvel thing is going to be it. Like,
Yeah.
I think everybody else is trying. They're trying to get on that bandwagon, but it's not going to ride.
I think it's I think it's great. You talk to young kids that were probably 5 or 6 when the first Iron Man came out. They grew up with this.
When did Iron Man? When did that movie come out? 2007.
2008.
Eight. So about 11 years. So they grew up. Most of them are graduating high school or or just starting college, and they grew up with this. For me, it's cool because when I read a comic book, if I got into Spider-Man and I saw Doctor Strange, I'm like, this guy's cool. I want to read a Doctor Strange comic book. And then you keep reading and reading, and it's kind of like these movies. You build upon it with these different characters, and then you get to this big event film. I think these last 2 Avengers, especially this one, which is so much fan service, but in the good way. There's bad fan service, and then there's good fan service. I think what it does with movies like this, I work at our house theater, and Matt works at Retro Drive-In. I know our weekend at our house theater was really bad.
What do you mean?
Well, we had films like from the guy who directed Downtown Abbey, the series, and like we have a really good Aretha Franklin concert film. But it was really bad because we don't have anything. Avengers just is dominating.
Yeah.
That's what it attracts older people, younger people. It attracts all crowds. The films that we programmed this weekend sadly attracted just an old white crowd, which is great for our theater, because they are our lifeblood, because we rely on them to keep us running with memberships. But, films like that, it's an event film. It's like when the first Star Wars came out, the first, Jaws came out. They're event films. And I think you need those films. You need the small films, you need those films, because you need that broad, eclectic range of films. I look at films like Black Panther. I like Black Panther. I thought it was a really good film, really well-made film. I don't know if that should be the film that gets nominated for Best Picture. I think it won, like, for production design, great. Music, great. But I don't feel like when you're talking about like award-winning films, I think films like more recently, like a Moonlight, which talks about like a young, black youth growing up as a homosexual in Miami. There's more powerful personal stories that are being told. Yeah. And I don't think Black Panther's a very powerful,
personal story.
It's in a different sort of way.
Weren't you rooting for Killmonger? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
No, I'm
teasing. But it's it was well acted. It was well done. But you you compare that to the reason why the Academy expanded to like 10 films is because of The Dark Knight.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, so originally the Academy Awards only nominated 5 Best Picture films, and after 2008 they expanded to 10. And the reasoning really why was because they didn't nominate The Dark Knight, which was the biggest film that year. The thing about The Dark Knight, it's different than just being a regular Batman film. It's a little bit like Christopher Nolan's ripping off a Michael Mann film called Heat. So it's like this big, sprawling crime epic that has Batman in it and the Joker. And obviously Heath Ledger won an Academy Award for that, but because at the time the Oscar voters and the voting pool didn't believe a genre film or a comic book film should be nominated for an Oscar, they nominated some like